Now we head to protests which have erupted in Kenya over plans to build an Ebola quarantine center for U.S. nationals on an Air Force base in the country's central region. According to news agency and eyewitness reports, at least 2 people were killed when police opened fire during the protests. Many locals working on the airbase fear that they could be exposed to Ebola patients. A Kenyan court has suspended construction of the facility. President William Ruto is, however, defending the plans.
Facility that is at Laikipia Air Base is not a facility different from all the other facilities that we have across Kenya. We have 23 other facilities set up, and these facilities are meant to make sure that there is proper screening, and if there is any positive identification of people who have Ebola, then immediately they are isolated, they are treated so that we avoid any spread of the disease.
And DW spoke with people on the streets of Nairobi to hear what they think about this.
Kenya being a third world country, I don't think we don't have the capacity to offer quarantine measures for the Ebola victims.
That thing is unconstitutional because first the courts have put hold on to it, and they have said that they should hold it first before everything, the mechanisms have been put in place to ensure that the life of Kenyans will not be at risk.
Why can't they build those quarantine centers in DRC? I think it is much better, and it makes sense to build them there so that they can contain that disease over there, not here.
And let's bring in Felix Maringa, DW correspondent in Nairobi, where smaller protests happened earlier today. Felix, what can you tell us about yesterday's and also today's protests?
Well, protesters marched the streets of Nanyuki and the streets of Nairobi, and their rallying call was that the government stops the deal that they've entered with the US government on establishing a quarantine facility in the country. Many of the protesters barricaded roads, they lit tires across the roads, and they marched along the streets just saying that the government needed to consult them better, needed to have a conversation with them and consult whether this is good for them and for the immediate communities surrounding them. Protesters in Nairobi earlier on today also carried a casket written Ebola, and they also held placards that were written no to Ebola in the country, because they are saying that the government is exposing them unnecessarily by allowing a facility that will be holding people who have contracted Ebola and belong to other foreign nations. And so many of those who protested and many of those who walked the streets were just having one rallying call, and all of them seemed to be singing anti-Ebola chants and slogans. Something else, yesterday during the protest, 2 people died and several others sustained injuries as the protest between the people and the police turned deadly towards the end of the protests.
And against that backdrop, why is President Ruto defending the plans to build the Center for US Ebola patients in Kenya?
President William Ruto says that Kenya and the US have had a long-standing relationship of cooperation in various areas, including treatment of HIV and AIDS previously during COVID-19 and other pandemics that have hit the country. So he says it is a continuation of the cooperation between the US government and the Kenyan government. The president has also said that by allowing the US to establish this facility, Kenya will be prepared much better to handle other pandemics that may come, or even if Ebola gets to the country, then Kenya will be much better prepared for that. So for him, he feels like he's getting an extra hand in getting better prepared to handle Ebola in case it lands in Kenya.
And just briefly, Felix, How prepared is Kenya right now for a potential outbreak of Ebola?
So according to the health ministry officials, they say that Kenya is prepared because they say they took a lot of lessons from how they handled COVID-19. But according to the medics, who will be the first people to interact with Ebola patients, they're saying that there are not enough protective gear. There are also not enough medics to handle the cases in case the cases were to be there was to be a bigger outbreak in the country. The medics are also saying that there's not been sufficient medicine in some of the shelves in the country. And so they feel that they have much more urgent needs like supplying PPEs, etc. And even Kenya does not fund its own has a challenge in funding its own medical institutions. And so we rely heavily on donor funding. And based on this, the medics are saying Kenya is not prepared to handle Ebola in case there was a big outbreak in the country.
Felix Maringa, thank you so much. We appreciate it.